The wolf does not strike. That is what unsettles them. Fenrir stands still, massive chest rising and falling, breath rolling out like smoke from a burning city. Living, warm, beating, Tyr's hand. The gods circle the scene at a careful distance. Not close enough to intervene. Runes flicker along the walls like nervous thoughts. Around, Fenrir's legs coils a ribbon. Not iron, not steel, not even magic in the way magic should look. It is soft, pale, almost tender. A lie made gentle. Fenrir feels it tighten, not with force, but with certainty. The kind that does not argue, the kind that does not break. His eyes rise to Tyr's face. The god of law does not pull away, does not beg, does not look to the others. He knew when he stepped forward. He knew when he placed his hand between fangs designed to end gods. He knew survival was no longer his choice. Fenrir understands something then, not betrayal, acceptance. The jaws close. Bone snaps like frozen wood. Blood spills across stone and gold, cutting through the perfection of Asgard. A scream tears out of Tyr, sharp, brief, final. Then silence. Here is the paradox burned into that moment. Tyr was not forced. He was not tricked. He was not weak. He chose duty over survival, and that choice reshaped the end of the world.
Unveil the legends.
Before the blood, Asgard believed in permanence. That was its greatest weakness. Giants were held at bay. Chaos felt distant, manageable. Prophecy ruined that illusion. Fenrir would kill Odin. Ragnarok would come. The world would end. Odin heard those words and did not prepare for battle. He prepared for control. The All-Father's flaw was not ignorance. It was fear dressed as wisdom. Every time he looked at Fenrir, he saw not a creature, but a conclusion. A deadline with teeth. Thor wanted violence, clean, immediate, no nuance. Smash the threat before it grew teeth sharp enough to bite. Gods, Loki said little. Silence weighed heavier than denial. Watching your child grow into a prophecy does that. It fractures loyalty in quiet, irreversible ways. And Tyr believed in structure. Not kindness, not mercy. Structure. He believed the world held together because rules were spoken aloud and followed, even when they hurt. That duty mattered more than comfort. That survival without order meant nothing. So Fenrir was not slain. He was raised, watched, measured. The gods fed him, but never embraced him. They tolerated him like a storm cloud on the horizon, acknowledged, feared, never trusted. Fenrir noticed everything. The way laughter stopped when he entered a room. The way hands drifted toward weapons without conscious thought. The way smiles arrived too late and left too early. Only Tyr stayed, not out of affection, spoke plainly when others softened lies with honeyed words. He did not promise safety. He promised rules, and he kept them. Fenrir learned something crucial. Gods lie when they are afraid. Tyr did not lie. That made him dangerous, and it made peace impossible, because prophecy had already decided that trust would be used as a weapon. The first chain was forged from confidence. Iron links thick as arms. Heavy, loud, honest. They called it a game, a test, a show of strength. Fenrir shattered it. Metal screamed as it split. The ground shook. Laughter followed, but it was brittle now, forced. The second chain came layered with magic. Runes burned into every link, humming with desperation. The gods told themselves this one would hold. Fenrir tore it apart too. Silence fell. This was no longer entertainment. This was fear admitting its limits. The gods did not ask how strong Fenrir was anymore. They asked how clever they could be, so they went to the dwarves. Not for strength, for deception. Gleipnir was woven from impossibilities. A cat's footstep, a woman's beard. A mountain's roots, a fish's breath, a bird's spit. Light, soft, harmless. Fenrir recoiled. Predators recognize traps that do not announce themselves. He refused. Not with rage, with clarity, unless one condition was met. A god would place his hand inside the wolf's mouth. A guarantee written. In flesh, the gods froze. Thor's fingers tightened, but did not move. Odin calculated probabilities and chose distance. Others stared at the floor like witnesses avoiding court. No one volunteered except Tyr. He stepped forward without hesitation, without ceremony, without protest. Fenrir looked at him and saw the truth. Tyr knew this was a lie, and he accepted it anyway. That was the moment survival stopped mattering. Tyr placed his hand between the wolf's teeth. Warm breath washed over skin. The heartbeat against Fenrir's tongue was steady, calm. The ribbon tightened. It did not strain. It did not snap. Duty held, and survival was sacrificed. The myth calls this moment heroic. It praises courage. It praises sacrifice. It praises duty. But heroism implies a chance to live. Tyr never had one. He understood something the others refused to say out loud. Law does not survive on truth alone. It survives on compliance, and compliance always requires a cost. Fenrir was not restrained because he had committed a crime. He had committed none. No god lay dead by his jaws. No city burned by his breath. He was restrained because of what he might do. That is not justice, that is preemptive punishment. Tyr knew this better than anyone. He was the god of oaths, of courts, of rules that separated order from chaos. He understood the flaw at the center of the god's plan. If Fenrir was bound by force alone, the act would be naked tyranny. The world would see it, so the gods needed legitimacy. They needed a wound. They needed someone respected enough to bleed so the act could be called lawful instead of fearful. Tyr volunteered, not because he believed Fenrir deserved it, but because he believed the system demanded it. That is the darker truth. Tyr did not choose between good and evil. He allowed the gods to say an oath had been honored, that consent had been given, that the binding was fair. The gods laugh, not kindly, not with relief, with triumph. They mock Fenrir's struggle. They congratulate themselves on cleverness. Odin smiles, not as a father saved, but as a ruler who has delayed an eviction. Loki screams. No one listens. And Tyr? Here is the theory the myth never says out loud. Tyr was not the hero of this story. He was the final piece that made oppression legal, and Fenrir understood immediately. This was not the cruelty of liars. This was worse. This was cruelty justified by principle. That realization does not create rage. It creates patience. Fenrir stops fighting, not because he is broken, because he is learning how systems fall. Time rots differently for the bound. Days blur. Gleipnir cuts deeper as Fenrir grows. What once felt like silk becomes a blade that never stops moving. Blood seeps into the earth. Saliva pools at his feet. The gods wedge a sword between his jaws to keep them open, afraid of his bite even in chains. Venom drips from his mouth. It poisons the soil, corrupts the land, turns suffering into geography. Even the world begins to pay. The gods mistake silence for peace. They feast. They build monuments. They tell themselves the sacrifice worked. Odin, that the future can be outmaneuvered. That duty saved them. But duty does not erase consequences. It delays them. When Ragnarok arrives, it does not explode into being. It arrives like a debt. Fenrir breaks free, not with fury, but inevitability. The chain does not fail because it was weak. It fails because injustice never holds forever. Fenrir walks across fire, across bones, across promises that outlived their meaning. When he finds Odin, there is no speech, no argument, no revenge, just fulfillment. The god who feared prophecy most dies inside it. And Tyr? Tyr does not face Fenrir again. Their story ended with a bite. Instead, Tyr meets Garm at the gates of hell. Another guardian, another servant of order, another being who chose duty over life. They fight because they must, not out of hatred, out of obligation. They kill each other, simultaneously. Perfect balance. The god who sacrificed survival for law dies by the same logic. Here is the irony carved into the bones of the world. The gods betrayed compassion to preserve order, and in doing so, taught destruction how to justify itself. Tyr chose duty over survival, and the world paid the price. Because when systems demand sacrifice without mercy, destruction stops being evil. It becomes correction. So ask the question without comfort. Was Tyr noble? Or was he proof that loyalty to order can be more dangerous than chaos itself? Leave your verdict below. And stay with this story. Because Fenrir was not the only one punished for a future crime. The gods made this choice again. And next time, they drowned the world.